Joining me now live is the Romanian Foreign Minister, Bogdan Aurescu. Thank you for joining us today on TimesRadio, Minister.
Well, thank you for having me.
Now, I mentioned that estimate. How many refugees do you think have crossed into Romania so far, and how many more are you anticipating in the coming weeks and months?
Well, by now, more than 234,000 Ukrainian nationals crossed the border from Ukraine, and more than 72,000 Ukrainian citizens stay in Romania as we speak. And almost 3,000 of them have already asked for protection as asylum seekers. And this is beyond the numbers of other citizens of third countries who also crossed from Ukraine to Romania, and we have helped everybody to evacuate and to go back home in their countries of origin safely. We have also helped a lot of missions, foreign missions in Ukraine, to repatriate their personnel, and actually a lot of them crossed into Romania and then flew back home. So we are open to all Ukrainian and other country citizens to evacuate safely. We have been coping by now with this very challenging situation, but the numbers are growing. And we'll see how much of them will come in the next days.
Now, I want to get on to ultimately what a permanent plan looks like, what help you need from other countries. But just before we do, I wondered if you could tell us briefly what is the welcome like for those who are crossing into Romania from Ukraine? What are they coming into?
There are many mothers and children. Almost a third of those Ukrainian citizens who are crossing into Romania are kids. And we are trying to provide shelter, to provide food. The government effort is quite consistent. And we are also helped by the civil society in Romania, a large number of NGOs and regular Romanians who mobilized very well. And they have provided assistance, food, medicine, everything that is needed for them to feel safe. The government has created an online platform where all support offers for Ukraine are centralized. We have also created, with the help of the European Commission, a hub in Romania, a logistics center to collect and transport to Ukraine international humanitarian aid. And we are working on that very hard. And I think this would be a very helpful tool in order to provide to Ukraine the humanitarian aid, which is so much needed. I've heard the impression of the Ukrainian MP that you have just had online, and I think this is very much needed to provide food, to provide medicine, to provide even water, to provide all that is needed for a country which is very much destroyed by the aggression of Russia.
Now, when you're looking at the Ukrainians fleeing to Romania, and whether you can cope with those numbers as they do continue to rise, what assistance do you need from the international community? Is it financial, or are you looking for other countries to relax their border policies to take on their share?
Well, we are very much open to work together with our international partners, with the European Commission first, but also with the other EU member states. For the time being, as I mentioned, we are coping with this wave of refugees, but we are very open also to cooperate with other countries. And we have already facilitated the transit through Romania into Ukraine of humanitarian convoys from many countries in the world that were willing and able to provide support to Ukraine. So the international effort should continue to be coordinated, and I think as long as we stay united, this effort can be efficient.
Now, Boris Johnson here in the UK was criticised by some of his own MPs this week over the initial offer to Ukrainian refugees. So far, it's been about whether you have a family member here. The Home Secretary has said it is going to go further, but we don't yet know the numbers or the details. Would you support the UK taking a more generous approach?
Well, I cannot comment on on UK's policy as far as the refugees are concerned. What I can tell you is about Romania's stance, and I can tell you very clearly and firmly that Romania is open to receive all Ukrainian refugees that are willing to come to Romania and to stay in Romania. We are facilitating their moving towards other countries in the European Union if they wish so. So for us, everyone who is under threat in Ukraine is welcome to Romania.
Now, focusing on Romania, I wondered, do you think NATO should be taking a more proactive stance towards Russia? We keep seeing, obviously, Ukrainians calling for this no-fly zone, or are the risks of broadening the war just too great?
Well, we have had on Friday, and I have taken part in a foreign ministers meeting in Brussels, and we have discussed what kind of response NATO should give to Russia's aggression, and we have focused on the measures for a consistent consolidation of the deterrence and defense posture on the NATO's eastern flank, where Romania is. As far as Romania is concerned, we are the closest ally to the hotspot in Ukraine because we have the longest allied land border with Ukraine. It's more than 400 miles. Crimea is roughly 200 miles off the coast of Romania over the northwestern basin of the Black Sea. So we are very close to what happens in Ukraine. So that's why we have advocated for an increase of the allied presence in Romania. And I have advocated for a fast establishment of a battle group in Romania, according to the model that is already used in the northern part of the eastern flank in the Baltic states and in Poland. And on the meeting in Brussels on Friday, I have advocated for a rethinking of the philosophy of the concept of the structure and constitutive elements of the NATO posture on the eastern flank, because when we have started to build this posture after 2014, the trigger was the illegal occupation of Crimea by Russia. But now we have to adapt this posture to the fact that we have a massive presence of the Russian army in Ukraine, in Belarus, which has become a de facto military district of Russia. So we have to adapt and adopt a new posture on the eastern flank. This is the response that NATO should give as soon as possible, and I'm quite confident seeing the reactions of the fellow colleagues in the foreign ministry on Friday that this would become reality sooner than later. As far as the support for Ukraine is concerned, as the NATO Secretary General mentioned, unfortunately, a no-fly zone, if created by NATO, this would involve NATO directly in the conflict. And since Ukraine is not a member of NATO, this cannot be possible now.
It's interesting what you say about the eastern flank and more resources in light of the new situation. Would you like to see then more NATO troops stationed in Romania permanently?
Yes, that's the point of my position that I have already explained to you. So increasing the defense and deterrence posture on the eastern flank, this means more NATO troops in Romania. We have already received U.S. troops, more U.S. troops in Romania, 1,000 military already deployed a couple of weeks ago. We have already started to receive French military on the Romanian soil. Even as we speak, the President of Romania, the Prime Minister, and the French Minister of Defense are in Romania in a base which is called Mihail Cogălnicianu, very close to the Black Sea coast, where the French military have recently deployed in order to welcome them formally, but also Belgium, Portugal, Poland, other countries from NATO are planning their deployment in Romania with troops and equipment. So this shows the solidarity of allies and the direct concern for the security of allies on the southern part of the eastern flank, especially of Romania, which is very close, as I mentioned, to the hotspot in Ukraine.
How concerned are you about the conflict advancing? Because this week, when it comes to Moldova, there have been reports that this could be the next place that Putin chooses to invade. The leader of Belarus had a map which led to some of this talk because it appeared to suggest Putin was planning to go there next.
Well, actually, that map was suggesting that an attack from Transnistria, which is a separatist province of the Republic of Moldova, in Ukraine would happen, and that was after that was denied by Russia. Well, we hope that this conflict would not extend to other countries. This is very important. But as Moldova is concerned, they have a large number of refugees as well. And some of those refugees who are coming to Romania are in fact crossing the Republic of Moldova. So they are entering from Ukraine to Moldova and then from the Republic of Moldova to Romania. And this is a small country. We are talking about a small country with a very limited capacity to cope with a large wave of refugees. So they need badly our support. And I have advocated both within the NATO ministerial on Friday, but also on the Foreign Affairs Council, which also took place on Friday in Brussels, and I have taken part in that meeting. I have advocated for more support to the Republic of Moldova for coping with the refugee crisis. Actually, together with my Austrian colleague, Mr. Schallenberg, I have addressed a letter to the Commission and to the High Representative Borrell asking for a consistent assistance package for the Republic of Moldova in order to cope with the refugees, but also with the possible new energy crisis and with other challenges which are stemming from this crisis in terms of economy and so on. It is very important to support the Republic of Moldova. Also on Friday, we have witnessed a statement from Transnistria asking for the international recognition of this country, which is not a country. It is just a separatist province, which nobody recognizes. And on this occasion, also, I would like to reiterate our full support for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of the Republic of Moldova within its internationally recognized borders.
Moldova have applied to join the EU. Is that something that should seriously be considered?
Well, Romania supports very much the European perspective of both Ukraine, the Republic of Moldova, and of Georgia. And we consider that the place of all these three countries are within the European Union. And we have welcomed the letter of request signed by the President of the Republic of Moldova, by the Prime Minister and the Speaker of the Moldovan Parliament, for asking for candidate status for EU accession. And we are ready to provide all necessary support in terms of practical procedures and processes for this objective of the Republic of Moldova to become reality. The government in Chisinau is a very pro-European, pro-democratic government. The president is very much pushing for in-depth reforms in terms of democratic transformation of the country. I think they deserve such an objective to be acknowledged and reconfirmed by the European Union.
Thank you. And then just very finally, I wondered, you talked about how no-fly zone is a no-go. Do you see any hope for a negotiated settlement in this crisis? Are you in touch with anyone on the Russian side?
Well, we are not directly in touch with the Russian side. We have monitored very carefully the 2 rounds of discussions between the Ukrainian and Russian diplomats, which took place recently. We see that there is a possibility for a 3rd round of discussions to take place. But, unfortunately, for the time being, the 2 rounds which took place by now did not bring any tangible results. To the contrary, they have taken place under the continuation of the aggression. So during the talks, normally the aggression should stop, should take a break. At the same time, the arrangement to have a humanitarian corridor for the evacuation of the civilians from certain cities of Ukraine did not work. It was an arrangement which was breached by the Russian armed forces. So I'm somehow skeptical about the outcome of these discussions, which are being held under fire, actually.
Thank you for your time today, Bogdan Aurescu, Romanian Foreign Minister.
My pleasure.